Hi there, Andrew here. I love to be entertained, but I have no patience. So I give every new show I watch only one episode to hook me. Welcome to Debut Review. Like a Dragon Yakuza. It's kind of funny because the Yakuza 7, they tried to change they've switched from the Yakuza moniker here in the West to Like a Dragon. And their idea for the seventh game in the series was to call it Yakuza Like a Dragon. Which I've always said in one phrase. Yakuza Like a Dragon. If you're going to Yakuza any particular way, you should Yakuza Like a Dragon. Yakuzas. But for the mini-series that came out last fall, it's called Like a Dragon Yakuza, which is like, these strawberries are like a dragon Yakuza. I don't know how that works, but so Like a Dragon Yakuza, based on the best-selling global video game franchise by Sega, the story unfolds across two intersecting timelines, 1995 and 2005. In 1995, four friends eager to escape their restrictive lives in an orphanage dive into the Yakuza-controlled underworld of Kamurocho. Meanwhile, in 2005, their friendship is deteriorated, as tensions between the Tojo clan and the Omi Alliance are at a boiling point. Okay, that's the general setup of the first game in the series. The Like a Dragon series is one of my absolute favorite video game franchises. I love this series. Even Dead Souls. In fact, I say they should do a Kiwami version of Dead Souls, because there ain't nothing wrong with Dead Souls, which is canon. There's nothing wrong with Dead Souls other than mildly important things like the frame rate and the controls, which are both bad, but everything else is really good. So, I'd honestly like to see them revisit that one. So, we're potentially heading into dangerous territory. A live-action adaptation of a video game that I'm very, very fond of. Oh no. What if it's bad? What if it's not up to my personal standards? Or what if it does not meet my expectations? Well, I'll have a sad, I suppose. For me, I'm not really a stickler for direct adaptation. I mean, if this show is just going to do a live-action version of the story exactly as it was portrayed in the early games, fine. But if they want to just take the general premise and setting and characters and do their own thing with it, for me, that's perfectly fine too. I don't need it to completely exactly mirror the games. I don't even need the characters to be exactly the same people as they are in the games. I think they should at least share the essence of that character. And I think that one of the things that makes Yakuza or Like a Dragon that property is this deft balance of tone in which on the one hand you've got this stone-faced super serious drama which juxtaposes with utter silliness. And that balance, I think, is one of the things that makes Like a Dragon, Like a Dragon. So I'm hoping that, that seems like kind of a tall ask, because some of the ridiculousness of the video game, I imagine would be very hard to emulate, at least in the same way in live action. So I'm really curious to see what approach they take and what tone they're going for. So, let's check out the first episode of Like a Dragon Yakuza, and I'll tell you what I think. I have now watched episode 1 of Like a Dragon Yakuza. Will I watch episode 2 of Like a Dragon Yakuza? Yes. Will I watch Like a Dragon Yakuza Episode 2 only because it's a live action adaptation of a video game series I'm very fond of? Also, yes. So, if this weren't an adaptation of Like a Dragon, I probably would not bother with Episode 2. Not to say Episode 1 is bad, just that it's not, at this point anyway, doing anything, to my taste, really interesting enough to convince me to watch Episode 2. So far, it's fine. First episode's 45 minutes. I wasn't bored or anything. Time passed just fine. My buns never went numb. But it's just not particularly compelling. So far there is not much in the form of levity. There's not much silliness or ridiculousness that I associate with these games. We could get more of that as the show goes on, but so far it's a pretty straight-laced, straight-faced crime drama, which, fine. If it stays that way, that's honestly kind of understandable. As I said, getting some of the sillier aspects to work in live action, probably very difficult. But if not, I will miss it. Now, I'm aware that Goro Majima shows up in the show at some point, so maybe the levity will come with him. As I said in the before I watched it, I'm fine with them doing their own thing. They don't need to do a strict, direct adaptation of the game's plot. And they're not. It appears that they're doing their own thing. They're using a bunch of the characters from the game, but they also added some new ones, at least ones I didn't remember. Most of the characters are ones from the game, but there's a couple like Miho, who is not just another kid at the orphanage. Not sure if she's Nishiki's sister or Yumi's sister or who she is. But Kazuma, Nishiki, Yumi, and Miho are all kids at the Sunflower Orphanage, and they steal money from an arcade to escape the orphanage and go live their lives, but the arcade is owned by a Yakuza gang who immediately tracks them down, and this starts all these kids on their paths in life. Kiryu joins that particular gang and apparently becomes like an underground boxer and goes to prison at some point. Nishiki joins the same gang and after 10 years or so does really well for himself and seems to be heading his own family. Yumi is running a cabaret club, looks like. Date's in it. He visits Kiryu in prison. We don't at this point know why Kiryu's in prison. Some of the show is doing an interesting thing is it's skipping back and forth between the intro I read. I got the sense that like the first half of the series would take place in 1995, and then the second half would time skip to after Kiryu gets out of prison and do the 2005 stuff. No, it swaps back and forth. Interesting choice. We'll see how that, if there's a good reason to do it that way and if it works. One thing I didn't actually catch when I read the description is 95 to 2005. Kiryu was in prison for like 17 or 18 years. And in this one, he's only in prison for 10 years. Or possibly less. I mean, he probably doesn't go straight to prison. He may only be in prison for 6 years. Who knows? I'm sure any of you who've actually watched this show already know. But I think that's probably fair, condensing that a bit. It's a lot easier, I would imagine, to convincingly portray your cast as 10 years old at 2 points in their lifetime, 10 years apart, as opposed to 18 years apart. And they're doing a pretty decent job with hair and makeup, costuming, and also the actors' performances in really visually demonstrating the age difference between the same character at two different time periods. Um, so kudos there. As I said, it's doing its own thing, but it is hitting some of the beats of the video game, like the $10 billion 10 billion yen plot of Yakuza 1 seems to be. It doesn't look like it's going to play out exactly the same, but it's that same kind of idea. Everything else is pretty different. The characters' backgrounds. Although Nishiki ends up being a mob boss. Kiryu goes to prison. Similar touchstones, and the actor who plays Kiryu seems to be doing a nice job. We only see him as modern day Kiryu for a couple of minutes, but he is tall. I'm selling him short. He's doing the Kiryu scowl pretty well. Sadly, if I can only have one thing from this series, I hope at some point, probably towards the end, the last fight, I hope Kiryu, dressed in his suit, just grabs the sign, just yanks the whole thing off and goes bare-chested for the final fight. That is the most hilarious damn conceit in the games for me. It makes me chuckle every single time. I hope they do that for the series. Even if it tonally doesn't work, I hope they do that. Let's see. The first episode ends with one of our characters possibly dying, or at least getting really hurt. And that's a fine cliffhanger, but show is so far not compelling enough for me to really care if I weren't already interested in seeing the live action adaptation of, or rather this live action adaptation of Like a Dragon. They did a movie back in 2007 or so. I've never seen it. I hear it's fun. I don't know. Anything we want to talk about? Oh, they did one of the Heat moves, the slamming someone's face against the wall and dragging it along the wall. That's from the video game. So nice to see little things like that in there. One criticism. I do not like the redesign of what I'm assuming is Millennium Tower. It's just a big tall building. You didn't need. It's got all these weird additions to it, and I'm like, it looks like a fantasy, a sci-fi building. It like something that would be on the skyline in a Blade Runner movie or something. It's just like, why did you do that to the building? It's so weird looking. The Millennium Tower is just a big tall building. It's very rectangular. Looks like a big Jenga tower. It's just a big square building. It's just particularly tall. That's the only thing really notable about it. But this thing's like, oh, it's got all these adornments and stuff. I'm like, why? I mean, it certainly stands out. I guess it's eye-catching. I thought it was a little silly, but the few scenes early in the show that take place on the streets of Kamurocho are it's pretty clear that they're trying to make it look specifically like it's the streets of Kamurocho from the game, and I think they're doing a really nice job. It's possible that Kamurocho is based on a real place, and it's possible that these types of storefronts and locations that they're showing off are just fairly typical of that kind of area. But as someone who's never been to Japan and never been to that place, movies, shows, video games, and the Like a Dragon series are really my only familiarity with it. So when I was watching the beginning of the show, I'm like, oh man, yeah, I think I know exactly which street and which area in Kamurocho that's supposed to be. Oh, that's so fun, right? It's probably just very generic to that type of area, and I'm saying, oh, I recognize that. It's like, that's what every place looks like. Could be that. Hard to say. But, first episode of Like a Dragon Yakuza, not bad, but not good. Just kind of meh, average crime drama. For me, kept afloat by the fact that it's an entry in a franchise that I have a lot of passion for and will happily see through to the end unless it just really starts sucking at some point. So don't suck like a dragon, Yakuza.